Well,
right?
and he even slightly referenced that in his Frost comments, where I thought it was interesting how he phrased it and said, "We're trying to make this a great job.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make this the best job available."
I mean, let's get to that because do we have the clip?
You want to run it? We'll
Yeah,
see.
let's run the clip here because I mean, we've talked about it a couple of times. Let's play the clip and because I didn't love parts of his answer here.
I think this is a Rico or Shane. Who's got it? Do you think?
I can play it.
Okay, let's do that.
First of all, I have a ton of respect for Scott. And I've always been very empathetic for what he went through because, like, this was his home. You know, like, if you guys fire me tomorrow, like, I'm just going to go back to Cape May and sit on the beach and go back to where I'm from. But, like, this was his home, right? And so, like, this offseason, we put up a huge picture of Scott as a player in the coach's area because I took a picture and I sent it to Ryan Callahan down there because I can't imagine, like, what that feels like for him, right? I know what it felt like to get run out of Carolina. And I would say to people, like, I don't think I took the right job for me. It wasn't the right fit. That doesn't mean it's a bad. No, I will say this. This was not a good job when I got here. Like, we were behind on NIL. The facilities weren't what they were. Everything was behind. Trev convinced me, like, hey, Matt, this is going to, by the time we get to the point where we're going to be able to pay players, like, this is the only Big Ten school with no debt. We're going to, like this, right now we're talking about 20.5. It's going to go up percentages every year. And we're at a place where we have the best facility in football. We have everything that we could want. We make more of an investment in nutrition than any other team in the country. I mean, look at all of our sports. Look at how they're all blossoming right now because of the investments we're making in nutrition, sports science. Like, there wasn't a sauna in the facility when we first got there. And now you got to pick between a steam room, a sauna, an infrared sauna, your personal sauna. Like, those were investments. Scott came at a time, he had COVID, he had all these different things. So I can't talk about his time. But what I can say was, this wasn't a good job. Yeah, it was not a good job. But we've made it a good job, and we're about to make it a great job. This will be one of the best jobs in the country. And, like, that's why sometimes recruits will say, like, Coach, if you win, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm gonna stay right here. Like, you know, the only thing I ever think about is getting a lake house in one of these lakes in Nebraska I keep hearing about.
Ashland?
I don't think that one exists yet, but they're working on it. You know, I wouldn't surprise me if that's where he ends up with his lake house there. No, so I mean, there's a couple things there. Number one, I mostly expected what we heard in the sense that Coach Rhule was going to be overly gracious to Frost in his comments. That's who he is. He was always going to give him more grace than he probably deserves based on his time here. But that's who Coach Rhule is. That's how he is with other coaches. That's how he is. I mean, he gives Deion more grace than Deion deserves sometimes. Like, he is always complimentary about other coaches, and he wasn't going to throw anybody under the bus. That's just not who he is.
And it's also par for what he has said previously about Frost, too.
Absolutely. And so I'm not super surprised by that. What I will say is part of the reason this wasn't a great job when Matt Rhule took over is because of Scott Frost.
Fair.
Like, the job was different when Scott Frost was hired than it was when Matt Rhule was hired. You had 5 years of it becoming a worse job because of Scott Frost, right? And I listen, Coach Rhule is always going to be like, hey, we're not going to be like, it's this guy's fault, and that's that guy's fault, and whatever. But I can do that because I'm not in the program, and I'm not actively trying to fix it from the inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we all want it to be fixed, but we're not in the same positions that he is. So I can sit here and I can place blame and accountability where I think it belongs. And listen, he's right in the sense that there wasn't always great alignment under Frost.
Yep.
Guess what? There wasn't great alignment under Bo either, and they didn't ever go 3-9. They didn't ever miss a bowl game. They didn't ever, by the way, win fewer than 8 games. So he's right in some of the things that he was talking about. Nebraska's facilities were behind when they started the project under Frost and Moose. That ended up being completed, I think, finally completed last year, right? So, like, they were behind on some things. Everybody was behind on NIL at that point. NIL didn't exist when Frost was here, right? Like, Nebraska was starting to get going. They might have been behind when Coach Rhule got here, but that wasn't an issue until Scott Frost's second to last year in the program. It's 2021, I believe, or not even. 2021 was transfer portal. I think NIL didn't actually kick in until 2022. So I might be getting those dates wrong. But for most of Scott Frost's tenure, NIL wasn't an active issue. So I sit here and I go, okay, he's right that when he took the job, it had eroded in some of its quality.
Yeah.
But that, like, if it had eroded, Scott Frost was the rain,
Mhm.
right? Like, he was the water running through, eroding this job. And I don't love the fact that there's just not, like, I don't like that he called it a bad job. If I'm just being honest, I don't like that he called it a bad job. It bothers me because I don't ever think it was a bad job. He got to the analogy later that makes more sense to me.
And Rico's got the second half of that if you want to.
Yeah, does he got the part about the mansion?
I believe so, yeah. So,
Rico,
whenever you get a chance, we'll have that
go ahead
video
and play
going
that
up too. Maybe.
Anyway, there's a part where he's talking about.
And
here it goes.
But the thing is like, you walk in and everyone's like, well, that was Scott's fault. You know, in Carolina, said that was Matt's fault. But like good programs, like it's everybody. So like, why are we going to win now? We're going to win because of Troy. We're going to win because of Tom Peed. We're going to win because of Sean Peed. Like if the Peeds don't do what they did in 1890 and the investment they made this spring, we're dead. Like we're dead. Because these other schools, like they have all of this. And so the investment that Peeds made, the investments we're about to make in this stadium. Now, I don't know what the stadium is, so don't ask me because I purposely don't know. So when people ask me, I can be like, hey, guys, I have no idea. But I keep hearing about what the stadium's going to be. But Trev articulated it, and what Troy's done is Troy's come in, and he's not been afraid to take heat. He's made decisions that he feels like are right, and that's what makes it a good job. When your leaders are going to make decisions that they think are right, no matter what the public outcry is, then you have a chance to be really, really successful. So think about the job I took. Trev's gone, Admiral Carter's gone, but now I got Jeff Gold, I've got Troy Dannon, I've got Haven Susan, I've got all the things that you could need. So I think Scott was just talking about for him wasn't the right fit, and I respect that, and I feel for him, and I want him to always know, like, man, like the things he did at this school, like I want him always to feel like he could come back and has a home there. That being said, it's the right job for me. And Julie knew it, like she's sitting over there, like she told me the day we interviewed, she's like, that's the right job for you. Because I like to go into a place that like needs fixed and try to start. I like starting with like the nutrition program and like, I like starting with the sports science. Like even if there was no sports science really, but I like starting with all that stuff. And like, there were 24 ACLs in the 4 years before I got there. There were 49 major knee injuries. There was an old beat up turf field outside. There was a bad grass field outside. And like that costs money to fix. You should see our grass right now. It looks like Augusta out there, like the grass practice fields. And so I just want to make sure I always say like everyone can point and say what went wrong. It takes everybody saying, hey, what's my area? Courtney just redoing the whole facility. Haven just making sure we have everything we need. And so I think it's a great job now.
So, and he didn't get to the part with where he's kind of describing the mansion, which is the analogy I think makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Great house, great bones, outdated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Needs new wallpaper, needs new landscaping, needs painted, needs new appliances, whatever. Foundation's great. They already replaced the roof, or the roof was being replaced. That would be the new facility, whatever, right? Those big houses, roofs cost like 6 figures. Like, those were the things, and that's the right analogy to me. I don't think this was ever a bad job. There are truly bad jobs in college football. He's taken 2 of them.
Yeah.
This wasn't a bad job. And the thing that, so I got my dates correct here. Transfer portal and modern transfer portal and NIL both started in the offseason before 2021.
Yep.
So he had 3 full years before that. And I would argue when NIL started in 2021, Nebraska was actually on par. Now, they fell behind money-wise in a hurry, partially because people lost faith in Scott Frost.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like 3-9 in 2021 impacts the NIL money you have at that point.
And maybe that's what he meant by saying maybe bad job was the wrong terminology. Maybe it was a rough spot because
yes.
it wasn't necessarily up to standard where the rest of college football was at that time.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. But we're talking about for the vast majority of Scott Frost's tenure, this wasn't the position that Scott Frost left it in.
Yeah.
And so Coach Rhule can sit here and say, hey, like this wasn't a great job. And compared to some of the other jobs he may have been offered, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't in the spot where some of the other SEC jobs he was looking at were at in terms of NIL and some of these other things. That's totally fair. But overall, I've always said this, the infrastructure of this program has always been very, very solid. You have to get alignment. That's a totally fair thing, but I would argue nobody didn't want Scott Frost to succeed.
Yeah.
When he got hired.
Mm-hmm.
Not a soul. President, AD, like literally Bill Moose got hired to hire Scott Frost. That was his own, that was his main job when he got hired. After that, he was like, all right, I'm done here. And he went back to Montana. And still got paid for a few more years, which good on you, bud. But you go, everybody wanted Scott Frost to succeed early on. Now, you can make an argument when he hires Trev, and Trev maybe doesn't like the way he's running things, that you start to have a little bit of disalignment here.
Right.
But you're going to tell me anybody was more disaligned than Sean Eichhorst and Bo Pelini?
Yeah. Well, I think another part of what we just heard from Rhule, too, which also we do need to give shout out to NTV for allowing us to use that. Darren Winberg out in Kearney. Tri-Cities able to use that.
Central Nebraska.
Central Nebraska, as the kids say. But one thing that Rhule is so good at this, that he's saying something without saying it very directly, that the field was a mess. A lot of things were behind. There was a lot of stuff, like you said, the infrastructure and everything. That all happened when he took over the job and he recognized these things needed to be fixed and improved. It takes someone to actually speak up and say, hey, your fields are behind. Your facilities are not up to standard with wherever your conference level is or wherever you deem this program to be. It takes someone who can recognize that and also call it out. So without even saying, hey, the past coach's regime, that was kind of a little bit of an issue. He did kind of somewhat come out and say, yeah, they weren't up to standard because people weren't keeping up to the standard.
So that's the thing. If Scott Frost had the overall vision to say, hey, these are the things we need to be successful, then you think anybody would have said no to that man when he got hired?
Yeah.
He was like, hey, we need new practice fields. This is a mess.
Yes.
Done. Right? We need, they literally started building the facility, the training facility project. He said they needed new facilities got done. There were a lot of things that it's not like Coach Rhule came in here and somebody else said these things needed fixed. He was the one being like, hey, we need new practice fields.
Yep.
I want to go to grass fields. I'm tired of this turf. We need more sports science money. We need more nutrition money. That's the job of being a head coach.
Yeah.
Right. And I understand he was going to take the Scott Frost comments in the most gracious way possible because that's who he is and that's who he was going to represent publicly.
And as Tim said in chat too, no upside to speaking
absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to say anything negative about. I didn't expect him to say anything negative about Scott Frost.
Because you get some positive local headlines from saying nice things about Scott Frost. You get all national headlines for saying something negative about Scott Frost.
Absolutely. And which is why Scott Frost keeps saying negative things about Nebraska, because it gets him back in the headlines.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to say anything negative about Scott Frost. I thought he overstated the condition the program was in without properly identifying why it was in that position. Right? You can say, hey, the program was in a rough spot. That's accurate. It was in a rough spot because of the previous head coach. Right? Mike Riley handed off a better program, at least infrastructure-wise, to Scott Frost than Scott Frost did to Matt Rhule, right? There was an erosion there, and that's the only part that bothered me. I don't like sitting here and hearing somebody say it's a bad job because I don't think it's ever been a bad job.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been a bad job. I think it's been a job where certain things needed updated and fell behind, things like that. But the core of what this program has always had the potential to be nationally relevant again.
Yeah.
Always. And that's not something you can say about a lot of jobs. You can go down to Mississippi State, and I don't think they've got the core of what it takes to be nationally relevant. You can go down to Vandy, and I don't think they've got the core of what it takes to be nationally relevant.
They have Diego Pavia.
Sure. You can go to, I would even argue, go to places like Oklahoma State now that the T. Boone Pickens things, we're not really sure where the money's coming from and things like that. That program's in a rough spot. They had some money for a while, but I don't know that they built the infrastructure with that money to continually be nationally relevant. They had a couple years in the 2000s where they really popped, and that was about it. There's a lot of these programs where you look around and you go, I'll even say, that was an issue at Miami for a while. But Miami was in more of a place where Nebraska. They needed to update and fix a lot of things, but they had the core of what they needed, minus really fan support. They're doing that all without the level of fan support that's common in college football. So, I don't like that it was characterized as a bad job. I wonder if he had it to do over again, if he would use a different term. I'm not gonna kill him over that.
Yeah.
But it didn't sit great with me. I think his explanation made more sense, but I don't like people sitting here and saying it's a bad job. That's always going to sit bad with me because I just don't think it's true.
Well, and I know it's the same sentiment that you said before, that it's one of those slights where you and I did not go to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, so we don't have ties to the direct affiliation of the university, but it's the largest representation of this state. And so when you say, well, Nebraska football is a bad job or was ever a bad job, it makes it sound like the entire state is not worth, the fight. It's not worth the job itself.
Yeah, and it is. And I probably take those things too personally because it does hit close to home. But I do think it's a slight mischaracterization. I think his description of what the job was later made sense, but I don't think you can ever say it was a bad job. Were there better jobs? For sure.
Yeah. But hey, one sentence out of an entire Big Ten Media Days.
I mean, listen.
The rest of it is fantastic. But I hear your argument where you're saying that doesn't sit well. But everything else that we heard about the team this upcoming year and everything else, positive to the moon.
The thing that bothers me about it is I just know that's the clip that's going to go viral.
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, well, it's not a good job or it wasn't a good job, right? Like that's the clip that's going to get, if anything gets picked up nationally, it's not going to be like, hey, this is a mansion and I don't have to fix the foundation or anything like that. I just need to throw some paint on there and update everything. Like that's not the part of the quote that's going to go viral. The part of the quote that's going to go viral is, yeah, he was right. It's not a good job, right? When Scott Frost took over a different job than Matt Rhule did. Like those are very different things. So, I mean, when Scott Frost took over, it was literally 1 year removed from being 7-0 and a top 10 team in the country. 1 year removed from that.
Yep.
Right. Like, so when people are like, hey, this is a program that hadn't been to a bowl in 7 years. Yeah. Like that happened when Matt Rhule took over. But we were talking about the comments of when Scott Frost took over. Wasn't a bad job when Scott Frost took over, right? Like, absolutely was not. There was a much better place. And Scott Frost left the cupboard bare in more ways than one. And so, yeah, like I can see where he's coming from when he's talking about that. But I'm talking about the perspective of where it was in 2017 when Frost takes over. And that just simply was not the case.
Yeah.
It absolutely was not. That being said, I hope that's not the clip that goes viral because there was a lot of other great stuff that was said.
Yeah.
We can get to more of that. And we've got a bunch more audio clips and things like that. I think we might have some extra video as well. I'm not sure if that got chopped up because I sent it to you super late at night. So that's my bad. That's totally on me.
You were sending messages out at like 10:45 and I was like, oh boy. I woke up this morning and I was like, we'll see.
I don't know, bud. Totally fair. That's on me.
Were you busy?
I went out to dinner.
Nice.
So it's
on a
fine.
Tuesday? On a Tuesday.
Yeah, I go out to dinner just when I'm hungry.
Okay.
I gotta
Make me feel bad about myself. Sorry, my bad.
You were out last night too.
You don't know that?
I do. You sent a picture.
That's could have been an old photo. Could have been. No, I said I was trying to get the pulse of the nation. I was trying to see what was going on.
Yeah, out amongst the people.
I was, yes, and I was asking random questions, and I was just saying, "Hey, what did you guys think?" And the most of the response was, "Now, who said this?"
So CWS Austin is just who you are all the time out at bars.
Yes.
You just don't have a mic or a camera.
Yeah.
You're just going around being like, "So how hot is it out here?"
Yeah,
today?
pretty much. Yeah. Well, so to be completely clear, Dr. Girlfriend's on overnights this week, so when I have like the bachelor pad open and I don't know what to do with myself, I go out into the city and I venture
amongst the people
to see what I can see what I can do, see what I can find, drum up some interest,
see what you can conjure up out there. Did you have fun?
I did. It was a good time.
That's good.
I did. I'd met a couple of like friends down there. We had kind of like pre-organized it, and then they started to like depart, and a couple of other people that had like overheard us talking about some stuff had like come over and talked to me for like a minute or two. That was kind of nice to be able to just like interact with like new people, and they were very interested in
hanging out with randos,
I guess. And then they were also talking about like Big Ten Media Days stuff,
Yeah.
and they were the two guys that I talked to when I was like trying to leave. I was doing a classic like walk closer to the door as I'm trying to like get out of there, but they were biting my ear off about Cignetti. They couldn't get enough of what like Cignetti had to say, and I was like, sure, man. I don't like. If that's your forte, like I wasn't completely tuned in on what Sig had to say, but to each their own, I suppose.
Best season in Indiana history.
And it's history.
It is.
David brings up a good point. Let's not gloss over the fact that he said it's a good job now and it's going to be a great job soon.
Yeah.
So that's a good point as well. Like they have done the necessary things to bring Nebraska up to speed, whether it's the facility, the NIL, all of that. they've done a great job of bringing that up to speed. So I appreciate you bringing that up, David.